Grandma didn't buy fertilizer, she made it. From eggshells to old milk, she used whatever she had, and her tomatoes still came out big, red, and full of flavor. Today, we're looking at 20 homemade boosters she used in the garden that still work just as well. Number 20. Rotten tomato compost. Nothing ever went to waste in Grandma's garden, not even the tomatoes too soft to eat. She tossed them into a corner compost bin, bruised, split, and overripe, and let nature take over. Within weeks, those spoiled fruits broke down into rich compost loaded with the very nutrients tomato plants needed to grow again. She called it closing the loop. The calcium, potassium, and trace minerals return to the soil, feeding a new generation of plants. Sometimes, stray seeds sprouted into surprise volunteers, tough as nails and ready to fruit. That's how she liked it: natural, efficient, and full of life. The same tomatoes that fed the family came back the next season to do it again. Grandma's garden didn't waste a thing. Number 19. Seaweed Soak. Back in the day, Grandma never ignored a gift from the sea. If she were lucky enough to get her hands on fresh seaweed, she'd rinse it well, soak it in a bucket of water, and wait a week or two. That bucket? It turned into liquid gold. Seaweed Soak is full of trace minerals, natural growth hormones, and potassium. Everything tomato plants need to push out stronger stems and a heavier yield. She'd either pour it around the roots or spray it right on the leaves. It worked fast, but gently. The plants perked up, deepened in color, and started to bloom better. "It smells awful," she used to say, "but the tomatoes love it." And they always did. Number 18. Crushed eggshells. Grandma never wasted a thing, including eggshells. After breakfast, she'd rinse and dry them, then crush them into powder. Sprinkled around the base of tomato plants, eggshells slowly release calcium into the soil. This nutrient is essential for preventing blossom end rot, a common tomato issue where the bottom of the fruit turns black and mushy. Calcium also strengthens cell walls, helping plants grow firm and healthy. Because eggshells break down slowly, they provide a steady, long-lasting supply. No need for store-bought calcium sprays. Some gardeners even mix powdered shells directly into planting holes to give young seedlings a head start. Whether used in compost or straight into the dirt, this old-school trick proves that even the humblest kitchen scraps can help grow a better tomato. Number 17. Compost Tea. To Grandma, compost was gold, and compost tea was liquid gold. She'd take a scoop of her rich, earthy compost, steep it in water like a giant garden tea bag, then stir it daily for a few days. When it bubbled and smelled sweet and earthy, she knew it was ready. This dark brew was poured around her tomato roots to deliver a living dose of nutrients and microbes that improved soil health and plant resilience. It wasn't just fertilizer, it was soil medicine. Grandma said her tomatoes looked shinier, grew taller, and ripened faster after a few sips of her special brew. No lab-made formula could top it. Number 16. Milk or whey. Grandma believed spoiled milk didn't belong in the trash. Instead, she poured it right into the garden, sometimes pure, sometimes watered down. Whey from cheese making or leftover milk from the fridge gave her tomato plants a solid calcium boost, helping them resist blossom end rot. But that wasn't all. The enzymes and proteins improved soil biology too, feeding helpful microbes and keeping fungal issues down. Sometimes she'd mix it into compost tea or pair it with eggshells for even better results. The garden always smelled a little funny for a day or two, but the tomatoes turned out plump and unblemished. "Don't waste what still has work to do," she'd say as she tipped the jug. Number 15. Used coffee grounds. After her morning cup, Grandma wouldn't toss the coffee grounds. She gave them to the tomatoes. Rich in nitrogen, used coffee grounds act as a slow-release fertilizer that encourages leafy growth, especially in the early stages of development. Spread thinly around the base or mixed lightly into the topsoil, they improve texture and help retain moisture. Plus, coffee grounds attract earthworms, which naturally aerate and enrich the soil. They even help deter pests like slugs and ants. The key was moderation. Too much can throw off soil pH, but a light sprinkle now and then worked wonders. It was one of her simplest tricks. Cheap, easy, and right from the kitchen counter. Number 14. Gelatin Powder Mix. You might have seen Grandma stir a spoonful of plain gelatin into warm water. And no, it wasn't for dessert. She used it to feed her tomatoes. Gelatin is loaded with nitrogen, which plants need for leafy growth, especially in their early stages. She'd dissolve a packet in hot water, then top it off with cold water before pouring it at the base of each plant. It was a gentle way to boost nitrogen without risking burn. Best of all, the mix also improved soil texture and helped roots dig in deeper. Who knew something this wobbly could grow something this strong? She'd chuckle. But it did, and her tomato vines always reached a little taller because of it. Number 13. Diluted molasses water. When Grandma wanted to wake up the soil, she reached for something sweet, and that was molasses. Not the thick kind for biscuits, but a watered-down version made just for the garden. Just a tablespoon or two in a gallon of water, and she'd give her tomatoes a good soak. Why molasses? Because it feeds the beneficial microbes in the soil. And when those microbes thrive, the plants do too. It also adds small amounts of calcium, magnesium, iron, and potassium. Feed the soil, and it'll feed you back, she'd say, watching the tomato leaves turn a healthier shade of green. The plants responded with stronger roots and sweeter fruit. A cheap fix from the pantry, but it worked every single time. Number 12. Banana Peel Soak. Grandma knew bananas weren't just a snack, they were garden fuel. Instead of tossing the peels, she soaked them in water for a few days, creating a homemade liquid fertilizer rich in potassium and phosphorus. These nutrients are essential for flowering and fruiting, making the soak perfect for tomato plants right as they begin to blossom. Once steeped, she'd pour the banana water around the base of each plant, giving them a gentle boost without any harsh chemicals. For an even stronger mix, some gardeners bury chopped peels directly into the soil. Either way, it's a simple, zero-waste method that supports fruit production and root health. Tomatoes fed with banana peel soak often grow fuller, sweeter, and more productive, just like Grandma's did. Number 11. Fireplace Charcoal. After a long winter, Grandma didn't toss out the leftover charcoal from the fireplace. She crushed it and saved it for the garden. Wood-based, untreated charcoal improves soil structure by increasing aeration and water retention. Tomatoes thrived in it because their roots could breathe, especially in clay-heavy soil. It also helped balance soil pH and acted like a sponge, holding nutrients right where the roots needed them. Grandma sometimes mixed it directly into planting holes or sprinkled it along the row before rain. "Let the earth breathe," she'd say, patting the soil. Unlike synthetic boosters, charcoal didn't feed the plants. It helped the soil do its job better, and in her eyes, healthy soil always meant a healthy tomato harvest. Number 10. Cornmeal. Cornmeal wasn't just for frying up a good batch of cornbread. Grandma used it to keep the soil healthy around her tomatoes. This kitchen staple is known to suppress harmful fungal diseases like root rot and blight. She'd sprinkle a handful around the base of young tomato plants, sometimes mixing it into the topsoil. "Keeps the bad stuff down and the good stuff growing," she'd say. It wasn't fast-acting like manure or compost, but it created a soil environment that discouraged pathogens while feeding beneficial microbes. Some seasons, when blight threatened to take over, it was cornmeal that saved the crop. Just another way Grandma turned pantry basics into powerful tools, keeping her tomatoes strong without ever setting foot in a garden store. Number 9. Epsom salt water. One of Grandma's secret weapons for deep green leaves and vibrant growth was a bit of Epsom salt dissolved in water. This mix delivers magnesium and sulfur, two minerals often lacking in garden soil. Magnesium is essential for photosynthesis, helping tomato plants make energy from sunlight. If leaves started turning yellow between the veins, Grandma knew it was time for a foliar spray or soil drench using this simple solution. She'd mix about a tablespoon of Epsom salt into a gallon of water and apply it every couple of weeks during the growing season. It kept the plants lush, productive, and stress-resistant. And unlike synthetic fertilizers, it didn't burn the roots. It just gave them what they quietly needed. Number 8. Grass clipping compost. Every time Grandpa mowed the lawn, Grandma got a smile on her face, not just because of the fresh scent, but because it meant more compost for her tomatoes. She'd gather the fresh green clippings and mix them with dry leaves or straw to balance them out. This combo was rich in nitrogen and made a fast, hot compost pile that broke down in weeks. Sometimes she'd layer fresh clippings around the tomato plants as mulch. It kept the soil moist, blocked weeds, and slowly fed the roots. "Waste nothing," she'd say, watching those clippings steam in the sun. And, sure enough, that humble pile of yard scraps turned into a steady supply of food for her garden. Number 7. Alfalfa meal or pellets. Grandma didn't keep alfalfa just for the chickens. She used it as a garden secret weapon, especially for her tomatoes. Alfalfa is rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and even a plant hormone called triacontanol that boosts growth. She'd sprinkle alfalfa meal into the soil before planting or steep alfalfa pellets in water to make a powerful tea. After a few days of brewing, she'd drench the base of each tomato plant. "It smells like the barn, but it works like magic," she'd laugh. Tomatoes responded with deeper roots, fuller leaves, and early blossoms. Alfalfa worked gently but steadily, feeding the plants over time without shocking them. It's one of those old-time remedies that kept the harvest big and the vines healthy all season. Number 6. Wood ash. After a long day of cooking or heating with firewood, Grandma never threw away the ashes. She knew they were packed with potassium, vital for fruiting, and could help raise the pH in acidic soils. A light sprinkle around tomato plants added a natural nutrient boost and helped balance soil conditions. But she never overdid it, just a handful per plant mixed gently into the topsoil. Too much could be harsh. When used right, wood ash gave tomatoes firmer skins, better disease resistance, and stronger flavor. Plus, it added trace elements like calcium and magnesium. For Grandma, it was about using what she had. No fancy store-bought mix, just the remains of yesterday's fire turned into today's plant food. Number 5. Crushed Antacids. When Grandma spotted the telltale black-bottom tomatoes, signs of blossom end rot, she didn't panic. She reached into the medicine cabinet, crushed a few calcium-rich antacids like Tums, and sprinkled them into the soil. It was her emergency fix, and it worked. Tomatoes need calcium to develop strong cell walls, and when the soil was lacking or the plant couldn't absorb it fast enough, this simple remedy saved the harvest. The tablets dissolved quickly, making calcium available right where it was needed. It wasn't something she used every season. Just when trouble showed up to her, nothing in the house was off limits when it came to feeding the garden. If it helped her tomatoes bounce back, it earned a permanent place in her gardening playbook. Number 4. Aged Manure Tea. If the neighbors ever saw Grandma with a bucket of brown liquid, they knew it was her garden tea. She'd steep well-aged cow or chicken manure in water for a few days, then strain it and use the liquid to water her tomato plants. It smelled strong, but it worked. This tea was rich in nitrogen and other essential nutrients that fueled leafy growth and supported early development. Unlike raw manure, which can be too hot for plants, Aged Manure Tea is gentle and easy for tomatoes to absorb. It was low cost, sustainable, and once you got used to the smell, a secret recipe for success. Number 3. Worm castings. Grandma called it black gold long before the gardening magazines did. These tiny, crumbly droppings from earthworms are packed with gentle, slow-release nutrients that tomato plants love. She'd dig a shallow trench around each plant and sprinkle the castings right in, letting the rain do the rest. The result? Thick stems, deep green leaves, and tomatoes so juicy you could taste the care in every bite. Unlike chemical fertilizers, worm castings never burn the roots. They also improved the soil's structure, helped retain moisture, and encouraged microbial activity. Grandma didn't need to understand the science to see the results. When the neighbors asked her a secret, she just pointed to her compost pile and smiled because the worms did all the work. Number 2. Oatmeal Soak. Oatmeal wasn't just breakfast at Grandma's, it was garden fuel. She'd take plain, unflavored oats and soak them in water overnight. By morning, that cloudy mixture became a mineral-rich tonic full of iron, phosphorus, and trace nutrients. She poured it around the base of her tomato plants, especially when they looked a little tired. As the oatmeal broke down in the soil, it fed both the plants and the microbes working underground. It wasn't a fast-acting fix, but that's not what she was after. This was slow and steady, exactly how she liked to garden. Her tomatoes didn't just grow, they thrived. And all from a trick that started at the kitchen table. Number 1. Fish emulsion. Fish scraps were never wasted in Grandma's kitchen. After cleaning the catch of the day, she'd simmer the heads, bones, and guts in water for a few hours, then let them rot down outside for days. The result? A pungent but powerful liquid fertilizer, known as fish emulsion. It's loaded with nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and micronutrients, all key to tomato health. Just a small dose diluted in water gave her plants a significant boost in leaf growth and fruit production. The smell was enough to keep pests away too. This wasn't fancy gardening, it was old-school know-how. And if it smelled awful, even better. If it stinks, Grandma would say, it's working. Grandma didn't need fancy fertilizers, just simple tricks that worked. Which one will you try in your garden? Let us know, and don't forget to subscribe for more vintage garden tips.